what rookie cards should I buy right now? That's a question we've been hearing a lot of lately, and in this video we're going to tackle that exact question. Let's dive right in. So when we talk about what rookie cards we should invest in, one thing I could have done for this video is presenting lists of 10 rookie cards I think you should go buy. That wouldn't be very hard to do, but that's only useful for this particular day, in this particular month, in this particular year, and I want this video to be evergreen, whether you watch it on the day that it drops or 2 or 3 years in the future. So instead I'm going to talk about the different kinds of rookie cards that you can buy. And if you ask me, there are 3 different ones. We're going to look at the pros and cons of each, and when they move in the market. The first kind of card is when you buy a retired legend. Think of your favorite player when you were growing up, or depending on how old you are, maybe your dad's favorite player. This is somebody who is either in the Hall of Fame or soon to be, and is no longer playing the sport. This is the safest kind of investment you can make in sports cards. And speaking of safety, that is the #1 pro. It is very, very safe, because the player's athletic career is already done. It's also almost certain growth. It's going to grow year after year in value, just marginally over time. It's also influenced by time, meaning that these cards in some ways are kind of thought of as an antique. They've been around for a while, and they have a significant place in history. For example, think about if I had a PSA 8 Jerry Rice rookie card. He's a 1986 rookie, so that card's almost 40 years old. Time-wise, that's a lot more significant than if I had a Joe Burrow rookie. Nobody cares about a Joe Burrow rookie's significant historical place because it's like 3, 4, 5 years old. A Jerry Rice card that's pushing 40 years old, that's more of an antique, that's a relic, and that alone gives it some value and some scarcity. There are cons to this kind of card too, particularly it is a slow growth. While it is almost certain growth, it is going to be the slowest growth of anything we talk about. Year over year, you're going to generate return, just not anything crazy. And when do these cards move? In particular, there's 2 times where you're going to see some big movement on these cards. It's when the player gets inducted into the Hall of Fame, and that only applies obviously to players that aren't in the Hall of Fame yet. Usually that happens 5 to 10 years after a player's athletic career is over, so if you manage to buy some of their cards before they get inducted, you'll see a little bump. For example, Drew Brees is one that I can see getting into the Hall of Fame pretty soon, so if you're buying his cards, I bet you get a 10% jump just as soon as he gets inducted into the Hall of Fame. When he starts making headlines, his cards are going to go up in value. It's basically how marketing works. It's also going to move, not to be morbid, but when the athlete dies, especially signature cards, something that has that in-person connection, those are going to see a big jump in value upon the player's death. Y'all are probably at home right now opening up another tab, Googling oldest living NBA star. When it comes to investing in a legend, the easiest way for me to think about this is like thinking about investing in a blue chip stock. For example, here's a look at the trend for the Johnson & Johnson stock. If you look at 5 days, you can see it looks like a seesaw. There's a lot of ups and downs. But if you zoom out and look at the lifetime of the stock, you can see even though there's that sawtooth pattern, it's always going up over time, and investing in a Hall of Famer is going to yield very similar results. Alright, the second type of card is a current star. This is somebody who's one of the top players in the game, somebody who's on the All-Star team every year or at least vying for a spot. Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Judge, Shohei, LeBron James, Luka, those kind of guys, the big figures in sports. These cards are safe investments. And compared to the Hall of Famers, they're going to experience faster growth because, like I said, they're still playing. There's simply more things they can do to increase the value of their card when they're still playing. That said, there's a high entry price with these cards, and it's oftentimes fueled by competition comparatively higher than those Hall of Famers because there's just more people searching for Patrick Mahomes on a daily basis than Dick Butkus. They're both amazing players, but somebody who's currently playing is going to just drive a lot more competition when it comes to buying their cards. So you're going to have to shell out a lot of money to get them, especially if they're really that top echelon star, but it could very well be worth it if you get the right cards. The cons are they're at risk of bad press or injury. For example, Kyrie used to be the hottest thing. 2014, 2015, 16, Kyrie was one of the hottest names in sports card investing. Now his value's taken a hit just because of off-court antics of his. He makes a lot of headlines. Oftentimes it's not good. These cards are going to move when the player makes headlines, both good and bad. They're going to see a significant jump right before the playoffs start if the athlete's in the playoffs. Obviously, if they win the championship, you're going to hit the annual peak, and then if a player gets traded, there's going to be a bump. So if you found that star that you want to invest in, always start by going to cardlines.com and looking at our investment articles. We have covered a lot of stars where we count down their top 10 rookie cards. Like here's an article of Brock Purdy that we did where we identified his top 10 rookie cards. This will get you started in the right direction, and if you get overwhelmed by brand, be sure to check out our articles about the top brands to invest in as well. If you find the right player, we'll help you find the right product. You guys want to hop in here, and before we get into the final type of cards, I got a big favor for you. If you would like and subscribe, all you gotta do is just hit that thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, and then ring the notification bell so you never miss another CardLines video. You're the kind of person we want to invest in. And finally, my third category is potential stars. If you're a fantasy football player, you can think of these as like the sleepers, where every year you come in with a list of 10 guys that you think can make that leap and be a top 10 player at their position. This is that kind of guy. Somebody who's not established yet, but there's some pros to investing in that kind of person. For one, they're affordable. You can get some nice cards without having to pay the big bucks because they're not a household name yet. There's also big, high growth potential. If you hit on one of these, and if you were hypothetically somebody who invested in Patrick Mahomes during 2017 when he was riding the bench, then you would be absolutely loaded right now if you played your cards correctly. Pun intended. If you get in before everybody else wants the cards, then there is significantly higher potential returns. And of course, there's less competition, less people are searching for these cards, they're too busy chasing the stars. The cons here is that it requires significantly more SME, subject matter expertise. You have to follow the headlines and you have to use a little bit of intuition to know who's going to be a breakout star. It's easy to say, oh, I want to buy a LeBron rookie, but figuring out who's the next LeBron, or at least the next person like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander last year to make that all-star leap, takes a little bit more work figuring out who's going to be the next person to go from decent player to, oh wow, he's top 20 in the league. There's also a lot of risk that you're assuming here. You're only going to hit on probably 1 out of 4 to 10 of these guys, but if you do hit on the right person, the returns can easily offset all the losses for the people that you buy quite a bit of that just don't make it. And as far as movement goes, these are going to move at the same times as the previous headlines, good or bad, of course. When the player makes the playoffs, when a player wins a championship, even if he's not the star on the team, and if that player gets traded. Sometimes the trades help these players more than anybody because there's always people who can talk themselves into the idea of like, oh, maybe some fresh scenery is going to help this guy really find his footing. Here's a pro tip for identifying breakout contenders. One of the things that I like to do is look at the Vegas betting odds for most improved player in the NBA or breakout stars for the NFL or whatever the award is from sport to sport, but it's going to have a list of people to basically put on your radar that Vegas has identified, and there are a lot of nerdy number crunchers there, but their full-time job is knowing this sort of stuff, so it is going to put some good names on your radar, at least as a foundation for you thinking about what players are poised to make that leap. At the end of the day, though, keep in mind these are just guidelines, and there's no one-size-fits-all answer for sports card investing, and there's no way to break down all sports cards into 3 categories. Some of them are kind of fringe, walking between a category or 2. For example, going into the 2023 NFL season, Jordan Love's a character that I'd say kind of fringes between breakout star and current star. He's being treated like he's already a star, but there's still a lot of potential for his cards to grow, so he's somewhere in that gray area between those 2 categories. If you're watching this video, you're a savvy sports card person as is, so just use your common sense to guide your journey. In the meantime, though, check out some of our other videos.